To start off with, I'm just squashing my clay right onto the armature and making a general head shape. So it's kind of like an upside down egg. And now I just want to find the centre line, so I'm drawing that on with a wooden drawing tool. And now I'm going to sculpt on the profile down that centre line. So I'm looking at my photo of Tom Holland from the side and I'm sketching out his profile. Once the profile's looking right, I'm going to try and get a basic skull structure in. So here I'm carving out the eye sockets from the side view, and when I've done that, I'm going to draw on the structure of the skull roughly. So that's the jawbone, the zygomatic arch, the eye sockets and the temporal ridge. You can't see yet, but I'm actually sculpting Tom Holland smiling here, so you can see his lips are slightly parted. We'll get to the smile a bit later, but at this stage it's just the skull structure that I'm focusing on. Obviously Tom Holland has quite particular ears. They're very much a part of his character and personality and his whole look. So it's always important to be sculpting your particular subject's ears. Sometimes when people are learning to sculpt, they actually sculpt the features of David by Michelangelo, including the ears. And that's a really good exercise, but it is important to remember that everyone's ears are very different, so always make sure that you're looking at your subject's particular ears. I usually start from the side like this to get the shapes right from the side, and then I turn it to the front and see if they're sticking out the right amount. When you know how wide your widest points of your ears are, then you can start gauging the widths of the person's face a bit easier. So here I'm filling out his jaw width and all around those highest points of the bottom edge of his jaw and his chin. Because Tom Holland is smiling here, he's actually got quite a lot of mass around the cheek area, because when you smile, it pushes up your cheeks. Once that's all working, I like to try and get the eyes in. So I mark where they're going to be, and then I put actual balls of clay in the right position that I found. And then I sculpt in the actual eyeballs into the eye socket before then sculpting on the lids. can see I've got my dividers there, and I'm just measuring how far into his head the front of the eyeball is, because getting the depths of the eyes right is really important part of nailing the likeness. If your eyes are too far forward or too far back, then they just don't read correctly on the person's face. So it's very important to look from the side and make sure that your eyes are sitting at the right depth back from the top of the nose. Once I've got the eyeballs in the right position, and I draw on the shapes of his actual eye apertures, and then add some clay sausages for his bottom and upper lids. It's a good idea to make sure that your eyelids are a good thickness. It's very easy to make the lids too thin, and that makes the eyes feel like they're too far forward. Getting your eyelids to a good rich depth helps to give the sculpt a bit of life. So once I've got the lids, the upper and lower lids basically squashed on as clay sausages, then I fill in the area above and below a little bit. So I'm just using a wooden tool here, just smearing on the clay basically. It's a little S-shaped tool called a B5, my favourite tool. It could be quite difficult sculpting these videos from the side without actually being able to see what I'm doing. So I'm right-handed, so it's quite difficult to do this right eye from the side without being able to see what I'm doing and without completely blocking off what's happening with my hand. So you'll have to forgive that bit was a bit awkward. Because Tom Holland is smiling here, you can see his eyes are smiling too. He's got quite squinted eyes, so that's a good part of getting the expression right, is getting the eyes to match the general expression. So people don't just smile with their mouths, they smile with the whole face obviously, and particularly their eyes. This is one of my favourite tools too. It's a kind of curve-ended, double-ended curved tool. It's really useful for just getting around forms and blending bits in. I've drawn on the shapes of the outside of his irises there, and now I'm carving them out. I usually do this because I feel like it brings the eyes to life, because it casts a shadow when the iris is empty, and it just makes the eyes feel more alive. always feel like the sculpt comes to life a little bit at this point. Once the eyes are hollowed out, you can really start to feel the person in there. You can see I'm just using a sort of bobbled end on one of my detailing tools there to just smooth off the inside of it, and then sometimes I push in the pupil as well just to really make it pop. It's starting to come together now, so at this point I like to put some hair on, because it's impossible to really tell if the shape of your head is right without having some hair on it. Helps you to see the overall shape of the face, especially around the edges. It's easy to get the shapes around the temples and the sides of the face wrong without having some sort of hair on to help you see if you've got that right. Because these celebrity sculptures are for wax figures, they actually end up bald before they're moulded and cast in wax, because the wax casts will have real hair inserted into them. So I just put the hair on just to help me to see the likeness, really, and to help my client to see the likeness too. And then at the end I will be removing all the hair. So it's just very roughly sketched in to help you see the overall shape of the head in relation to the face. And there he is finished. So the last thing that I like to do is to just get a natural sponge and squeeze out the water and just very gently sponge it all over, and that just helps to unify the surface.